Hello and welcome to the Moments That Made Me in association with the University of Hull. My name is Radzi and I'm delighted to welcome you to the series where we discover the 3 moments that have defined the lives of some of Britain's finest Olympic athletes. Already we've heard from Pete Reed, Ed Clancy, Becky Adlington, Becky and Ellie Downey, Maddie Hinch, Latella Mohammed, Denise Lewis and Max Whitlock. But this is our 9th and last episode of the series, so we are ending on a high. And before I introduce her, let me remind you that this was recorded in the height of lockdown. But for our last episode, for our final guest of the series, we give you a Man City and England striker, a London 2012 Olympian, and a holder of one of the most recognisable celebrations in football. It is Ellen White. I am genuinely delighted to be joined by an England women's footballer. She's played for Birmingham, Leeds Carnegie, Arsenal, Notts County, Chelsea, Man City. Ellen White, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm very, very, very well. I'm also very excited to talk to you about your entire career and the moments that made you, but not before we start with a test about yourself.
Oh,
5 questions. How well do you think you know yourself?
Not good, I'm not going to lie.
Let's see how you get on. So, question number 1. So, you scored on your England debut in a 3-0 win over Austria in 2010. But who were the other 2 scorers that day?
I want to say Leanne Sanderson.
Yes.
I'm going to say like Kaz Carney.
Ooh, Eni Aluko.
Oh, that's close.
She will be livid. Question number 2. So you represented Team GB in London 2012, and at the time you were playing for the greatest football team of all time, aka Arsenal. But who were the 5 other Arsenal players playing for Team GB? This is tough, by the way.
Okay, I'm going to go for Rachel Yankee.
Yes, 1.
Steph Horton.
Yes, 2.
Was Kelly Smith at Arsenal then?
Yes. There's a really obvious one that I thought would be your first one.
Alex Scott?
Yes. And somebody that's not very big.
Yeah, I don't know, sorry.
Kim Little.
Oh, she's gonna hate me for that.
Question number 3. How many minutes did you play during London 2012?
90?
Not bad, 112.
Oh, okay, that's more than I thought.
Very specific. Question number 4. So you've won the WSL Player of the Month before, but what month of what year was it?
I'm going to say February 2018.
Ooh, March 2018. We've done a number of podcasts so far, and this is by hard the hardest 5 questions we've asked on anyone. I'm just going to put it out there. And finally, how many Women's Super League goals have you scored in your career to date?
42.
Okay, we've got it as 46, but that might be wrong. So
I'll take 46, that's fine. That's more than 42. I'll take that. I don't mind if I got that wrong.
So you said you didn't feel like you knew yourself that well. I think you were kind of right.
My knowledge of my own game is shocking, to be fair.
Which actually is kind of amazing, because I suppose for some people might be almost statisticians and encyclopedic about what they do, whereas for you it clearly isn't the case and it's really worked for you. But I'd love to talk to you. I've almost got a bone to pick with you, because when I was 8 years old, I applied to become an Arsenal mascot. So I'd get to walk out with the players in the stadium, but it never happened for me, even though I was on the waiting list for about 10 years. It did happen to somebody that I know.
Yeah, for the Arsenal ladies team, I got to kind of walk out, go into the change rooms, meet everyone. I got some awesome new boots as well, bright red boots to wear for the occasion. And yeah, it was an awesome day, to be fair. I loved every minute.
And did that kind of inspire you even back then to sort of see the absolute bit? Because Arsenal certainly historically were the number 1 team, and to walk out with them as an aspiring footballer yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I was so nervous going into the changing rooms to see everyone and meet everyone. But yeah, that definitely, I think that gave me loads of motivation to be like, that's where I want to be. I want to be playing for Arsenal first team. As a youngster playing for their centre of excellence, it was a dream. But yeah, to then move up the ranks and play for their first team was, that was definitely a dream. And definitely meeting them all and seeing them all in person, it was like, wow, this is amazing.
Absolutely right, and I have to say I'm very jealous. But this is called The Moments That Made You, and I'd love to talk to you about your first moment that made you, which involves your dad and what he did.
Yeah, no, it's a major moment, I think, in my career. I grew up with a crazy football mad household. My brother played football, my dad loved football, my mum, my sister, we all loved football. And at the time we didn't really have any kind of football centre or anything really for like youngsters. So I was about 5 at the time. And my dad, along with one of his friends, created like a little soccer centre, a little football centre called Mini Ducks that I joined, and it was so much fun. I was the only girl, all the boys joining in, just having so much fun, and it just gave me a real big incentive to play football, to love football, and somewhere where I could just have so much fun as well. So he created that, which then kind of propelled me to then go play for the local boys team in Aylesbury Town. So again, I was the only girl on the team, and I definitely think for my own career, playing alongside the boys was amazing for me. Physically challenging. They move the ball so much quicker, so it's definitely helped my development, especially as a youngster growing up.
Obviously, the game's developed so much now, so hopefully girls would almost be able to opt in if they chose to, but wouldn't have to have that situation. Yeah. Do you look back and think, would things have been different if you were in a situation where there was a girls' team, and perhaps could that mean that you aren't sat where you are now? For
me, I'm just really pleased and proud that there's so many more opportunities for girls growing up. Yeah. Especially, there's a Wildcat programme where, there's so many young programs out there for young girls to get involved in the game and play or have fun alongside like-minded girls that love football. There just wasn't that many opportunities for me to join any local kind of girls teams within my area. Even my local school team, playing at school, there was no girls that wanted to play football, so I was kind of joining in with all the boys. So for me, it's just so great to see there being so many opportunities for girls to play football, have fun. I know that it's increased the age that girls can play alongside boys to 16, but I think there's so many opportunities for them to play alongside other girls as well, and obviously have the opportunity to play in a boys team as well. So I think for me it's just incredible to see so many girls having fun and enjoying playing football.
I imagine, especially being a very young boy, if a girl joined my team, I might have just condemned and just said, no, you're going to play, quote unquote, like a girl. Did you have any of that when you first began?
I think because a lot of the boys within my area or in my school were all really close friends, and they could kind of see me play football from quite early on. When I moved obviously into playing for my local boys team in Aylesbury Town, when we started to play games, you could see the boys on the other team or the parents being like, there's a girl playing. And then my dad said that he literally just ran all the way through and then just scored, and they were like, okay. So hopefully I proved my worth playing on the boys team. But yeah, for my own team, I had incredible friends. They always backed me. I had, they were always on my side. We had a great team kind of ethos, and that's why I love playing in part of a team, having that environment and that banter, that ethos, that togetherness. I really enjoy.
How did other female friends kind of take to what you were doing?
To be honest, they thought it was pretty cool as well. Obviously, they like what they like. That a lot of them didn't really enjoy playing football, but they never really said that I shouldn't be playing football. They just weren't really interested in it, or maybe they didn't have football mad households, or they just didn't enjoy it. So, yeah, for me, from my personal experience, I didn't have anybody that was saying no, you shouldn't play football. They were really encouraging and really supportive, and obviously I know that not a lot of people were able to have those opportunities. So I was, incredibly lucky to have those, supportive family and really supportive friends as well.
Well, I suppose that kind of brings us to your second moment, which is something I can relate to. I went to 7 different schools, but for you, it was when you moved schools.
I got to kind of 16, I just finished kind of year 11, and I kind of had the decision of whether I wanted to go to kind of Arsenal Academy and do studies there. But for me, I wanted to choose what A-levels that I wanted to do, and that was the decision that I decided to make, to completely change schools, and at the same time completely change clubs So I went from playing at Arsenal to going to play for Chelsea first team, basically. So at 16, I made the decision to completely change schools and completely change clubs. So it was a big decision to make, really. You're completely going out your comfort zone. You're really developing skills to make new friends, and obviously being a footballer as well, to really embed yourself and learn a different philosophy as well, a different coach that you're not used to, and different teammates. So for me it was completely coming out of my comfort zone, which something that I think really helped me develop as a person, definitely my social skills, like I said, making new friends, and I think that really helped me as a building block to my career, really.
And at that point there, did you see football as a potential profession? Because even roll on, say, 14 years, it's night and day compared to what it was then to what it is now. And so there are avenues and opportunities now, which I'm not sure if back then you'd have kind of seen it in the same way.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I didn't realise that I could make a living out of playing football. For me, it was a stepping stone in developing as a footballer. It wasn't necessarily, I could be a professional footballer. I literally didn't think of that. That wasn't something that was really in my realm at that time. For me, it was about continuing my studies, doing A-levels, working as hard as I could at school to hopefully then go to university, and then also doing something that I absolutely loved in playing football and developing. For me, I'm super critical of myself, and I always want to learn, I want to develop, I want to improve. So for me to completely come out of my comfort zone, I was at Arsenal 8 to 16. That's a massive chunk of your kind of childhood and your teenage years, to then go somewhere completely different. So yeah, it was a big decision. I think it's something that really challenged me and really helped me grow and really helped me develop as a person. And yeah, definitely the opportunities now for girls coming through the game, not just being professional footballers, there's so many other opportunities: punditry, referees, assistant referees. Sean Matty is unbelievable in the men's game
commentary.
At the moment. Yes, commentary. So there's just so many opportunities now, and which is incredible to see, and hopefully that will keep thriving and keep improving. And something that would have been incredible for me to kind of see as I come through my career.
In terms of the training side of things, as somebody that likes structure, how do you handle it in a team if perhaps certain people aren't pulling their weight as much as others? Because for them, they might think it's all about the pitch, and if they're performing on the pitch, that's all that matters. How do you deal with that?
I think I have struggled to kind of understand and why people don't want to work hard in the gym, or when everyone else is. But I think as I've got older, I think as much as you want to be like, come on, you don't know their bodies, what they're doing, how they then perform on the pitch. So I think not only do you need to concentrate on what you're doing personally, but I think if you're in an environment or a team ethos where it is team-based, you essentially, a lot of the team will do the majority of the work, and those players that aren't doing it will either fall by the wayside or they will join the team. They will carry on and they will join part of the team because they can see how much improvement, what it's like on the pitch, how the development is, even in like testing or in games. So I think I've definitely learned to not be like, why are you not doing what you're supposed to do in the gym? And I think it's more about the individual, what's best for them. Not every exercise will be perfect for every individual. So I think the gym S&C is a very individualized thing, and the most important thing is that person performs for the team on match day, and that is something that I've had to get my head around quite quickly, and how much I've learned over the years as well.
Kind of still touching on the structure element of things, how do you measure your own performance? Because if you're a 100-metre sprinter, okay, negating the wind, you say, what time did I run that in? Whereas as a footballer, if balls aren't being sent to you, you're not going to be able to score any goals, regardless of who you are. So how do you assess your own performance when, again, clearly you love structure?
Obviously, as a striker, my main job is to score goals. So I think from everyone probably in the outside world watching in, I will be judged on my performance based on the goals that I score. But there's so much more to my game, or so much more to the team than just that. So, I do a lot of analysis away from Man City and also with Man City, and also England as well. Just looking at my movement. Obviously, a given is working hard. I think that's a given. I think internally if you've worked hard, and that is one that you should know, and that should just be a given. But yeah, it's all about movement, touches on the ball, keeping possession, whether your shots on target, your movement in and around the box. It is so varied for a striker or even for a footballer to measure your performance. But I think it is important to sit down with your coaches and know what they want from you, and then really analyse that to move on to your next game, really.
Thank you for that. And kind of keeping on the topic of scoring goals, that brings us to your third moment that made you, which took place in February and March of 2010.
Yeah, this I was talking to my husband actually about this one. I was playing for Leeds Carnegie at the time, and we'd got to the final of the FA Women's Premier League Cup at the time, and we were facing Everton, and we were probably the underdogs, if I'll be honest. Everton were the most likely to win, as so they say outside. But we had such an unbelievable team at the time, and it was an incredible kind of evening and final for me personally, but also the team. And I scored 2 goals and really set that winning mentality within me. It was my first kind of trophy as well, so it really kind of propelled me to be like, this is incredible, winning something, not just personally, but winning something with every single person that's part of this team. And also standing there with the trophy with your mum and dad, and with like family and my husband and stuff. So yeah, it's an incredible feeling that definitely helped me propel me to definitely enjoy and understand what winning felt like, and part of that momentum definitely gave me a lot of inspiration. I was selected, it was my debut for England. I was being selected for England in March, so it's just over a month after we played in the final, and I made my debut and also scored on my debut. So I feel like that game really gave me a lot of confidence, and kind of inspired me to really I'm a super passionate and patriotic kind of English footballer as well. So to step on that pitch, to make your debut for England and score, was the dream, really. So I feel like those 2 moments being so close together really kind of helped me in my career.
Do you remember what it actually felt like to put the 3 lions on for the very first time?
Ridiculous. I'm not... that's probably the word that I'd describe it as. Not only that, but I feel like I was surrounded by just unbelievable footballers. I actually, for that game, I was on the bench, and at half time, Kelly Smith came up to me. She was like, Ellen. And even then I'm like, oh, it's Kelly Smith. And she's like, you're probably going to go on soon. And I was just like, what? Well, no one's told me. Like, I don't know. So obviously that's made me a bit nervous. It's absolutely tipping it down. And Hope Powell, the manager at the time, was like, everyone should be wearing studs. Everyone should be wearing studs. I wasn't wearing studs. So I was like, right, I'm running to the changing rooms, putting studs on. I was thinking she might just go down the line, check who's wearing studs. They might go on and before me, type of thing. So I was really like preparing myself. But yeah, to stand up, to be told that you're going on to play for your country, and just standing there in the kit, yeah, it's such an unbelievable feeling, and one that, still 90 caps, just over 90 caps down the road. Every moment, every time I walk into the changing rooms, people still laugh at me because I'm like, whoa, like that shirt's so nice. Oh, that anthem jacket. Oh, do you know what I mean? I'm like a kid. I'm like a kid in a candy store. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, this is just the dream. There's so many people out there that, that they'd love to play for England. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, for me, it's crazy.
So when you come on as a sub and the ref and the PA announcer says your name and you actually run onto the pitch, are you filling your pants at that point? How are you actually feeling?
Yeah, I don't want to swear on this podcast, but yes, it was quite nerve-wracking, I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? But I feel like as I'm running on, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then I think I just kind of settled into the game then. I was like, this is where I want to be. This is it. I want to be playing for England, and this is the dream. So yeah, when I scored that goal, it was literally slow motion. It was an unbelievable pass by Leanne Sanderson. But then the goal, my husband still says it now, my mum and dad say they literally felt like it was 10 minutes going, is it in? Is it in? Is it? Do you know what I mean? It was just like, ah. But obviously it didn't go that slow. But yeah, so for me it was like slow motion as well. And then I did a ridiculous kind of Klinsmann dive. And yeah, it was pretty crazy.
When Leanne hits that ball, at that point, are you thinking this could be a goal? Are you present at that point, or are you kind of having the imposter syndrome?
To be honest, a lot of people say to me, what is your feeling when you're in front of goal, when you've scored a goal? What did you feel like beforehand? But I think I'm just so in the moment, and the only thing that I'm kind of feeling is the goalie's coming quite quickly, running out me, and the only thing I can really do is dink it basically over her. So in that moment I'm just like, the goalie's coming, dink it, and that's about it. I'm not thinking really anything else. It's probably the moment afterward I'm like, like just going crazy in my head. But then there's other moments when I've scored where I've said, after a game I've been like, you should have been in my head when that happened. They're like, what do you mean? I said I was literally like, like in my head I'm just like, what am I doing? And there's so many different kind of feelings that you can have when you're kind of in on goal.
Is there, within domestic football, when you're competing against perhaps your fellow teammate for an international spot, how do you deal with that? Where I guess domestically you need to be selfless to the betterment of the team, but personally, individually, you're thinking, well, hang on a second, I want to be representing my country. Yeah,
I think that's an interesting one. I think there is so much competitiveness for places, especially if you are playing in a team domestically, say for Man City, and you've also got another striker that's fighting for an English place at the same time. So it is quite an interesting dynamics. The one I can think of is kind of me and Jodie actually at the World Cup in 2019. We were both kind of fighting for the number 9 role basically for England, and I think for us I just wanted Jodie to do the best that she could possibly do, and we just constantly pushed each other in training, shots, goals, practices, shooting, anything. We seem to be really competitive, but we wanted the best for each other at the same time. And I think for me, the team has to come first. So it's out of your hands, the selection. You can do everything you can, training wise, being the best professional, the best person, the best teammate. But ultimately it comes down to the manager, and then it's your reaction once that selection has been happened, to go up to that individual who is potentially starting in front of you and give them a hug and wish them the best luck in the world, because you want England to win the game. And I think that's an interesting one that's hard for a lot of people to get their heads wrapped around. Those decisions for selection, it's not in your hands. You can't be angry at someone that deserves their place to start in that team. So as I've got older, I've definitely learned and developed and honed that kind of ability to understand that.
When you're sat on the bench, is there a similar dilemma where you're potentially seeing two people and you're thinking, I want one of those spots? and if they have a great game, you're delighted for the team that you're a part of.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's an element of, I want to be the one doing that.
I've got, you're going to lie if you say that you don't want to be on there. You don't want to be that one scorer, and you don't want to be that one that's helping the team win. That is always the challenge. But I think it is about developing and learning and understanding that you want England to win that game. You want Man City to win that game, and that is the most important thing. Obviously, you're going to be frustrated if you're not coming on off the bench, or you're not starting that game, but it's not that individual's fault for them performing well. So it's for you to go up and say well done to them, or it's you to go up to the manager and say, what do I need to do to play and perform? What can I do in training? What more can I do? It's about you individually trying to do even more to get better, learn, develop, and to hopefully start or come on from the bench.
For anyone who's listening to this podcast, they won't be able to see what's behind you, and that is a Team GB. I think it's a poster picture frame.
Yeah, it's like a little like board. Yeah.
And so I guess that's because not only are you obviously English, but you're British, and you represented Team GB at London 2012.
Yes, that was. I can say I'm an Olympian. I was part of the GB team at London 2012 football team. So, yeah, again, that the word to describe that would be ridiculous as well. For any English player or Great British kind of football player, I don't think we ever thought that we could compete at an Olympics. So to get that opportunity at 2012, not only for a team to be there but also to be selected, was incredible, and an absolute dream. So I had to take something away to try and be like, yeah, I did actually go there. I was at the Olympics, just to not to be like so at least I can show somebody. But yeah, that was in the room that I shared with Steph Horton at the time.
I feel like in many ways that kind of marks the beginning of the real new chapter of women's football, that you go from, because even when I thought about how will I introduce you, I almost hesitated to say England women's footballer, because I feel as though, well, you're just an England footballer. It doesn't really matter that you're a female. In the same way I wouldn't say Dina Asher-Smith is a British female athlete. I just go, she's a British athlete. But I almost think that pre-2012, very much England women's football. Post-2012, just a totally different generation.
Yeah, 100%. I think the 2012 Olympics for women's football just propelled the whole notion of women's football into another kind of just different atmosphere, to be honest. The fact that we had 70,000 people at Wembley Stadium for our final group game against Brazil was phenomenal. And when kind of Steph scored that goal, it was literally, I feel goosebumps now because it was just unbelievable. And definitely there was just so much support on the back of the 2012 Olympics for women's football. And, it has grown since then. Obviously, we didn't have from 2012 we went to the Euros in 2013 and probably didn't perform as well as we could have, but I think from then it kind of just got bigger and bigger and bigger for women's football. I think 2015 when we won our bronze medal in Canada for England, I think that again propelled it. So but I think the start, like you said, was 2012 that really made kind of women's football people excited about it in England and in Great Britain.
Could we go back to 2012 and you mentioned 70,000 people? Because even for a Premier League games ain't getting 70,000 people. And to have pretty much 70,000 home fans all cheering Team GB. And when you come out of the tunnel, I mean, what was the cacophony of sound like?
It was literally deafening. Like you say, I think the fact that it was not only 70,000 people, but literally 70,000 people wanting your team that you're playing for in Team GB to win, no matter what. They were literally just going absolutely crazy. And I think that was just a phenomenal piece of almost history to be involved in. That something, you could say as small as women's football was at the time, to have that amount of people just want to come out and support, Team GB at the time. It was just absolutely insane. And I think from that, it really just went a bit crazy. And I know Steph was just everywhere. She was just, she scored that goal at Wembley, and yeah, it just absolutely went mental after that. So, it was just such an amazing kind of feeling and an amazing time to be involved within part of Team GB and to be a part of kind of women's football kind of at that time, and to see how it's developed since then.
And to kind of bring it to present day, and then we'll go back, but to bring it to present day, last year, I think it was, I went to an NFL game at Wembley Stadium, and one of the ladies that was working for Wembley, I was saying, is it normally this full? And she said, oh, only on special events. And I said, when was the last time that you had a full house? And she said, well, It's funny you ask that because we've got two bookings here. One England men's, one England women's, and the England women's, again, dare I say England women's, was the sellout. And you think, I mean, in 80 years, to go from that, not an Olympic Games, not a World Cup, ultimately a match that doesn't even matter, yet you've got Wembley Stadium filled out. I mean, to be very much the coal front of that, what does that mean to you? Or the coal face even?
Again, that was something that I think, we were aspiring to and wanting to achieve what we felt for Team GB. Have that crowd that want to pay for a ticket and come and watch women's football at the most probably iconic stadium in the whole world, in Wembley. So for us, we had previously kind of played there, but for this was just on another level. And for us to be having kind of a spot at Wembley with potential sellout was just incredible for us to showcase our game on the back of a World Cup in 2019 as well. We wanted to really thank everyone, probably more so than ever, for supporting us for that tournament as well. And the people showed up, they really did. Same as Team GB, it was deafening. It was just unbelievable, unreal to have that many people just screaming and going mental for your team. I don't think you can ever describe that feeling, and I'm sure there's so many athletes out there that when they were at the Home Olympics in 2012, I was there. I've seen a lot of the footage as well. Literally, as soon as their name is called, it is just they're just it's just crazy. So that is such an amazing thing to have as well.
What do you put that progress down to, specifically in the women's game?
A lot to do with the team, in terms of the way that we were performing, the way that we kind of held ourselves professionals. We wanted to be likeable. We wanted to, people to really want to watch women's football. But then you've got to be, so thankful for the media, the journalists, it on TV, it's in newspapers, social media. I think that was a really major thing that kind of really helped us and really kind of pushed us. Obviously, we understand that with getting all that media coverage, that comes a lot of criticism, and we understand that. We've had so many meetings about that. We understand that, once you're in the spotlight and once people want to watch women's football, they're going to knock you down at the same time. So as much as it was important for us to be in the media for as many people to try and watch it and to see it and to be able to click on their TV, to look on their screens, on their phones, to be able to visually see women's football, women's sport, it does come with a bit of a price as well. But for us, it's really helped women's football grow. And I think you could see from last summer, it's massively helped women's sport in general. Netball, cricket, rugby, athletics. It has just really helped, our progress in being like the forefront.
Do you feel like you've been a part of something special? Because you say you mentioned the word forefront. You personally have been at the forefront and for many years.
I personally have. No, I'm joking. No, I think it's an incredible achievement. There's still such a long way to go for us as well. But I think I'm incredibly proud to have been, a small part of women's football, progressing and developing and people wanting to watch it. I'll always say that when I came back from the World Cup, I've had people stop me and go, I think I've picked women's football over Coronation Street now, and I'm like, I'm done. I think I'll retire now. Do you know what I mean? It's something stupid, but something that's so relevant. That so many people watch soaps and they are amazing because I get sucked into them as well. But the fact that they literally the women's football or sport was just so easy to click on their TV and it was there, that was something that's so important for us to develop our sport. That it's so visible for everyone. And if I played a tiny part in that, then I'm really thankful and really proud. But for me, I just love playing football, and hopefully everyone can see that as well.
I think we absolutely can. You mentioned it's still got a long way to go. what is the end destination, if such a thing exists? Where would you like to see the game in a few years' time?
I think it still needs to be pushed within the media. As much as it is great at the moment, I think it still needs to be pushed. It needs to be visible across every kind of channel, if possible, or a major channel, kind of showcasing kind of every game, which will be incredible for us. And I think for us, it needs to. We need to keep developing our league as well within England. We are attracting major players, but I think that needs to keep growing. People come into matches like as easy as to say, like feeling like bums on seats. I know we're in a global pandemic, but hopefully when we are allowed to have people back in stadiums, then to be able to get as many people to stadiums as possible. I know the beginning of last season, we had incredible crowds. We had the Etihad at the Tottenham Stadium, major stadiums that were filling thousands of people because they wanted to come and watch women's football. So I think that is a big progression for us to 5-10 years, that we are having consistent sellout crowds for women's football across every part of the country, really. I think that would be really exciting, and internationally as well, to have more games at Wembley. It shouldn't even be, say, to have more games, every home game almost.
I wonder when it'll get to the point where every person that's playing international football is doing so because of what's happened in the last 10 years. So young girls that have seen people like yourselves play and think, I want to be like Ellen, I want to be like Tony, Alex, Annie, whoever it might be, and are now playing at the highest level and doing what those people did. Because I think what would be really interesting is to see, as the game improves, the popularity improves, because as with any sport, almost the better the standard, the more people get interested. And I think that exponential growth that you'll grow together. So it'll be really cool to see almost the tangible impact that you've had on the new generation, that I guess, dare I say, at that point you might be retired and you might be able to watch from home, but to see the people that have been inspired by you.
Yeah, I think that would be something that would be unbelievable for me personally to be able to witness, to see those youngsters that were growing up when I've been playing, to then 10 years now they are the forefront of women's football. And I think that would be unbelievable. And not only for women's football, but like you say, across the board. When you see elite performances for international, say, England netball, the amount of people that wanted to play netball after they won was just insane. So
I did, I'll be honest, it made me want to.
And I think that is important. As much as you want your sport to grow, you have to win things. It has to be a high level of performance, and I think that is a big thing for the growth of not only women's football but women's sport in general. And I think we have got some unbelievable talented sports teams that are women, and should be on primetime TV and should be showcased and should be the global stars. I think that would be incredible to see in 10 years' time, that they were inspired by Dina Asher-Smith. They were inspired by every netball player, every footballer, and they are now up there. Like you say, it would be incredible.
And I think it does exist in other sports. If you say who's the biggest gymnast in the world, I don't think anyone mentions anyone other than Simone Biles. In the UK, in GB, in terms of athletics, where are our gold medals? Where are the guaranteed medals? You talk about Katharina Johnson-Thompson and Dina Asher-Smith, maybe Laura Muir. So it's in those sports, for example, it's not even a thing. It's just, and it'd be amazing if, the same way in tennis, that if you happen to have a crop of a great female player or male, you just go, Andy Murray, Serena Williams, Roger Federer, Serena. It's not even a but it's just considered that they're on a par. And
that's something that hopefully will just naturally grow and get more exposure, will be the different sports. So like you say, in athletics, in gymnastics, in tennis, and hopefully that'll be a natural growth for football, netball, and rugby and cricket will be a really exciting thing, that it is just cricket. It's not women's cricket or women's rugby or women's football. Do you know what I mean? It will just be that sport, and those are those people, those are those icons.
Just finally, I'd like to talk to you about your life after the game. Do you have any particular plans or aspirations for when you do hang up your boots?
Yeah, obviously getting on a bit now. Yeah, no, obviously that's a conversation that, you know, I've had with my husband and my family, that what I want to do, or what I want to do to help the game grow, not only women's football but the sport in general. You know, also on a completely different aspect, I'm really kind of interested in like firefighting as well, but then I'm really interested in kind of the media aspect. So it's really, you know, for me, just finding out exactly what I want to do that's hopefully will be really, I want to do something that's beneficial, helpful, will make a big difference at the same time.
Can we just rewind? You did say firefighting, as in you were
did.
going into burning houses.
I did say that. Yeah. I have looked at quite a bit of that, which obviously would be exciting. But on the other hand, I really do enjoy kind of the media aspect and helping the game and the sport grow at the same time. So maybe a combination. I could just be a media firefighter just running around there. So yeah, at the moment I am playing football, so that's not too bad.
And the absolute final question would just be, what do we not know about you? We've obviously spoken and covered an awful lot of ground. When you hear the name Ellen White, what would you like people to think that perhaps they wouldn't otherwise know?
I think, well, the main thing is that I'm a nice person, hopefully. I've said this quite a lot. As much as, you know, I would really love to be known as a decent footballer. But I think for me, I just want to be known as a really good person, someone that goes out their way to be the team player, to always be kind, be thoughtful. I know that probably sounds a bit cheesy, but for me it's about being a good person and going above and beyond for not only your friends and family but other people that you don't know as well. So for me that's a big one. And I also really like Lego building. That could be
nice.
Just throw that one in. I've really enjoyed that during lockdown, so that could be an interesting one. So yeah, something a bit random.
I love that. That seems like the perfect way to end on the building blocks of life, Lego. But Ellen, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real insight, and I think to speak to you, that's been part of such an important part of women's football, and indeed just football as a whole, like we said, pre-2012 to what it is now, and long may it continue.
Thank you so much for having me on.
What a pleasure that was, speaking with Ellen White, someone who's seen so much progression in the women's game during her career, and personally, in my opinion, has grown with and into one of the most impressive individuals in the sport. Well, Ellen's episode number 9, marks the end of our series, and what an unalloyed joy it has been uncovering so many moments, from the profound to the inspiring, sometimes surprising, always insightful, and also always honest. And with that in mind, I'd like to thank all of our guests, from Maddie Hinch, Pete Reed, Ed Clancy, Becky Adlington, Becky and Ellie Downey, Latayla Mohammed, Denise Lewis, Max Whitlock, and the person that you just heard from, Ellen White. By the way, you can still listen back to all of those episodes wherever you get your podcasts from. And as ever, please do rate, review, and subscribe. Fingers crossed, we'll be back for another series. But genuinely, thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it half as much as I have, because it really has been time that I will treasure for a very long time to come. This has been The Moments That Made Me, in association with the University of Hull, and see you very soon.